What is up, my friends? You're very welcome along to an angry match reaction here on Anfield Agenda after Liverpool have been well and truly beaten 3-0 by Nottingham Forest. A result that, well, I'm sure instill a lot of confidence in Sean Dyche's Nottingham Forest. And before I get stuck into my thoughts on the game, congratulations to Forest, a deserved victory. It could have, maybe should have been more. As I said during the watch along, I feel Forest's disallowed goal should have stood, and this result should have probably been more in their favour. So congratulations to Dyche, Nottingham Forest and their fans. Thoroughly deserved victory. From that, here's where I'm at. The manager has to be fired. Look, I respect everybody's opinion. If you don't think he should be fired, I'm not going to jump down your throat. But I'm going to give you my honest take on what I'm seeing. I'm seeing players who have absolutely no fear that the manager is going to hold them to account. I'm seeing fans disillusioned inside the ground, and I'm seeing players who just don't give a shit. On top of that, I'm seeing a manager who is clueless to stop this rot, who isn't able to provoke a reaction from his players, and who hasn't got the balls to stand up to the bigger players in the squad. They've down tools at this point. Now, you're going to tell me they haven't. You're going to tell me they'll come out with all the right things, but it's just words. They're empty. At this point, you know what you're seeing. I know what I'm seeing. And what we're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, is 450 million Great British pounds spent. And that is what we're seeing. Back-to-back 3-0 losses. 3-0 at Manchester City. 2-week break to reset, to get your head straight. And we come back and that's it. Canade is a liability. Whether he has a contract offer on the table or not, he is a liability. Virgil van Dijk has lost the magic dust. Mohamed Salah is nowhere near acceptable for the type of money he's on. They aren't the only ones. I could go on, and I will go on. The manager is clueless. He goes in at half-time. We're all talking about Canade absolutely stinking the gaff up. We're all saying don't send them out for the second half. What does he do? Sends them straight back out there, and we concede within a minute. 1 goddamn minute into the second half. What type of reaction is that from the players? What did you say in there at half-time? Because I'm telling you, any manager with that in them would have got a response from those players. But he hasn't been able to. That is telling. So for me, for the first time in my 8 years doing this, I'm going to say Arne Slot needs to be fired or he needs to resign today. It isn't going to get better. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have a system. He's just fucking destroying confidence. Rio Ngamoa thrown on for garbage time minutes again. His confidence is going to take a knock. Chiesa absolutely ignored until the game's gone past us. Not good enough. Starts Isak when nobody knows how to get the best out of him. There isn't a formation to suit him. There is no accountability in this team because they don't fear the manager. That's my take on it. They don't fear any repercussions because they're bigger than Arne. Salah's bigger than him. Virgil's bigger than him. He doesn't have the balls to drop the stars when they're not performing. And his tactics are non-existent. That's where I'm at. Josh said class players must be on Slot. Performance is poor. Ariv, thank you. Roshi said honestly can't believe so many will still back Slot. Jamie said would you take Jared as interim manager? Yes I would. Interim only, and I'm not saying interim with any possibility to take the job. This isn't if he comes in and we do well for 2 weeks, give him the job. But yes, I would. So I want to ask you in the chat again how you're feeling about Arne. Give me one word, in or out. We'll do a poll on it if you want, but just give me one word in the chat so I can gauge the feeling, in or out. Slot should go to Ibiza and stay there. I'm looking at the chat. There's a few ins. But far more outs. So let's put it to the poll and let's see if we get a similar result. So, should Slot be fired? Yes or no? Look, there is no positive to take from that today. There's no building blocks, no foundation for putting this right. It isn't there. It isn't there. I'm not saying this reactionary from one loss. I've told you what it's going to take for me to say the manager out. The players not doing what they're doing, not performing, not caring. They know what to say to the media. They're all media savvy. They know how to get the happy clapper fans on side. Talk about standards. Talk is cheap. Arna, Virgil and everybody else talking about standards while not withholding and holding up those standards is unacceptable. If the manager had a pair, Salah's sitting on the bench. If the manager had a pair, Canade wasn't coming out for the second half. There's just nothing there. There's nothing positive to build on from this. Nothing. You said after the Real Madrid game that the managers were playing for the manager. Correct. I did, Nick. And then we go and we lose 3-0 through Manchester City and are absolutely wiped off. And then you say to yourself, you know what? Manchester City are a good team. Losing 3-0 away at Manchester City is no disgrace, even though it wasn't good enough. Then you come in, Nick, and you have a 2-week break to get your tactics right, sit down with your coaches, figure out a plan of how to go and get the best out of the team. And what do we get? A 3-0 loss at home where they have almost twice as many shots on target as us. So, where do I go from there? You know? Because more times than not this season, we've seen what we've seen today. So, I can't believe that they're playing from. Because that was at home. Against a team that beat us last year at home. A team 19th in the league table. And a team that outworked us and outfought us. Watch their defending. Watch their defending. Typical blame Salah for everything. When the team is entire rubbish. Only Slot should be blamed. So you literally undermined your own fucking comment. Blame Salah for everything when the entire team is rubbish. And then go on to say Slot should be blamed. Salah was shit. Get over it. Deal with it. He was shit. Virgil was shit. Get over it or put on your big boy pants. Because if you're happy with Mo constantly kicking the ball off defenders' legs and running down blind alleys, cool. But I'm not. I'm going to call it out. And I'm going to call out the manager. And I'm going to call out the captain. And I'm going to call out the midfield. And I'm going to call out every single motherfucking last one of them except Dominic Szoboszlai. So you be you and I'll be me. Jonathan said, hi Craig. I think he's lost the dressing room. Slot can F off, said Steen Christensen. Rio getting treated wrong, terrible. His confidence. I said this on so many times. You have a young player, right, that you have given first team squad potential to. Then you don't start him in games and you only bring him on when we're up shit creek. You don't introduce a young player into a first team, into a troubled first team. You introduce a young player into a team that is firing on all cylinders and playing well. Not to come on to try and be a hero because the senior players haven't got the balls to stand up and fight. You're right. He's been absolute. His confidence will be eroded away. We all seen Canade sniggering as he was jogging off the pitch. Does that look like somebody who has the fear of God in him? That he's going to lose his place? Or that he gives a shit? Jordan said the guy has to go. Absolutely zero tactics and the players looked like they couldn't give a toss. Deacon Wood said Iriola in last month as a member was a pleasure. Thank you, mate. Appreciate your time with us as a member and hope to still see you in the chat anyway. Look, I really don't have an answer on the manager who should come in part. And I know that the sensible people will say you don't bring in a manager until you have another one lined up. And I do totally understand that. But this isn't going to get better. I don't think it is. So at this moment in time, job number one has to be stop the rot. Look, you can say we might beat PSV Eindhoven. But let's be honest, any version of Liverpool should be beating PSV Eindhoven at home. This was the one. This was the game where we were going to find out whether they had the balls to stand up and be counted. And they were bullied at Anfield by a team who was second to bottom in the league. Let that sink in. Bullied at home by a team fighting relegation. almost twice as many shots on target at home. We can't defend. We won't defend. We don't have fight. We don't have a methodology. We don't have an identity other than that we're soft. LFC David Thomas said, "Hi Craig, I bit my tongue and thought we get through this bad patch and wanted him to turn this around. I was slot in and now he's losing the dressing room. It's time to go." I'm the same, and I say that with absolutely no pleasure whatsoever. None. I want him to succeed, but I can't just bury my head in the sand and say I think this is getting better. It isn't getting better. The inconsistencies aren't getting better. He has destroyed a team with an identity and an aggression and turned us into rubbish. Sideways passing rubbish. Who can't defend, who won't defend. And he won't hold people to account. He doesn't have the balls to drop the players that aren't performing. If Slot survives tonight, the club is finished. Mr. Bransfield, I'm glad I seen you in the chat, mate. That envelope is there written out for your dad and it's getting posted on Monday, as promised. So just seen you in the chat and wanted to mention it. This is the worst performance this season against a relegation fodder at home. The players are performing terribly, but this loss is squarely on the manager. Rich Baldy said, "What hurts about this most is our beautiful club is not playing Liverpool football. We look like a transplant, and as a super fan, this is painful." It destroys me, mate. Even to come on here and say I want the manager gone kills me. And it's not something I do lightly off one loss. But this is unacceptable. And like I keep saying the same thing. Everybody talks about standards. Everybody keeps coming out with this waffle and blocking out outside. Well, it's not outside noise now, Virgil, when the stands are emptying. When even though people are paying their hard-earned money, they're leaving the ground early because you've capitulated once again. Forest defended like they gave a shit. Their players were putting their bodies on the line, getting blocks in, winning every 50-50. We look like a bunch of pampered prima donnas out there. Not good enough. Evan and Ross Binley think you're a donkey for not going to games. Cool. That's brilliant. And is there any other little children around there, or is Mammy coming back from the shop soon? What a weird little thing, Oscar. But like I said, if Evan and Ross Binley want to pop up and say hello to me in person, we can talk this through. Feel like the first goal shouldn't have stood. It was off. I agree, Gabriel. But for me, the second one that was disallowed should have stood. You bite way too much. Look, Kyle, let me just spell it out to you like this. We're in an emotional moment where we're all angry and someone sends in a super chat and I read it. What do you expect? Like I keep saying, I'm an emotional fucking guy. Of course I'm going to react when I'm angry anyway and someone's being a dickhead. I'd love to see you do my job, but you don't have the balls to do it, so just sit there and shut up and let me get through the chat. And I'll get called out on what I need to get called out on. But he spends his money, I'm going to read his comment. Simple as that. Martin said that was tactically inept, spineless, pedestrian performance, and as far as I'm concerned, that stems from the manager. He's lost the changing room. Amteki said, I accidentally selected no. I think Gerrard works. I want to get back into the chat and read some of your comments. I never thought in my lifetime Liverpool teams giving up. It's heartbreaking. And Alan, that's the thing, dude. That's the thing that I think is really hurting us. It's that it's not like we're just being played off the park. We're being beaten. We're being outrun, outfought. That isn't acceptable at home. It's just not acceptable. Losing games of football happens. Nobody has a right to win every game of football. But it's about how you lose games. We lost against Manchester City with a whimper. We lost at home against Forest here with a whimper. We have conceded 6 and scored none in the last 2 league games. And that underline, mate, is the real heartache in this. is that not only are the tactics inept, not only are the players not responding, but they just don't have the fight in them anymore either. So, poll running. We've had nearly 7,000 votes so far. We're going to keep it going. Craig, don't explain yourself. You're showing you're merely expressing your opinion, stating the obvious. Look, I'm an emotional fella, like I say. And when somebody comes in when I'm at the height of my emotion and says something that's obviously on a wind-up, sometimes I'm going to bite back. But other people seem to worry about it more than I do, because it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I'll move on in 2 minutes. But ultimately, the underlying feeling right here now from all of us is frustration, anger, and pain at what we're seeing. And we're all sick of people talking. There's enough talking, not enough action. And truly, if I thought that this was going in a direction where we're losing games because we're making mistakes learning a new system, or we're losing game because of an individual error here or there, I'd be far more understanding of it. But we're not. We're being outrun firstly, outworked, outfought, outthought. A manager who can't stem the flow. A manager, 2 games in a row, he's gone in at half time, had a chance to sort something out, and we've come out and lost the second half. He's got no reaction from them. None. Darren said, enough. Slot's hurting this club. Paolo, thank you, Paolo, for 7 months. Slot won the league, tinkering with Klopp's Rolls Royce. But do you know what the really frustrating part is? Well, I'm sure you do know, Paolo, and I think most people in the chat here would agree with us. You had this perfect identity, right? So you inherit a team, and I still say he did the tweaks to win the league, and I've explained my position on that many times. But you inherit a team with a very clear identity and a fan base that responds to that very clear identity. You've seen it against Madrid. The players bite into challenges in their aggression. The crowd responds, the players respond. You have an identity. You press the shit out of teams, you condense the pitch, and you hurt them. And then he tries to get too clever. Then he wants to become Pep Guardiola, only for Pep Guardiola he ain't. He talks about Paris Saint-Germain last year like he fancies Luis Enrique and that this is his dream style of football. He has the personnel to do it, because Enrique's style of football is not a million miles away from the way Jurgen used to play. And he then goes completely away from that identity. And what is it though? What is it? What the fuck is this brand of football? It's nothing. It's not. It's just nothing. There's nothing to it. No identity. Nothing. Just fucking move the ball and hope for the best. And then when we do concede, it's full on empty the bench and throw everybody on and hope for madness. It's inept and it's not good enough. Zoshi said Slot 10 Hag 2.0. It's hard to really argue against it, especially when it seems to be a stubbornness that he won't admit it's wrong. Slow build-up play, yes, I agree with that. Exactly, Craig. What is the style of play? Kick and hope, yeah. I agree with that, Kate. I agree with that. I would love Luis Enrique, said Ian. Stay strong, mate. Don't lose it like that. Mate, this is football. This is me being reacting. This is the way I am. I'm fine about being emotional. But you know what the irony is? You, I, and many other people here in the chat now are showing far more emotion and aggression than we've seen out there on the pitch. Carl Marr says he needs to go. No tactics, no run, absolute disgrace. Rafa's Red said, Craig, I come here because you've got the balls not to sugarcoat it. Much as I love Slot for number 20, it's time to go. He's lost the team. No fight desire. Thank you, Rafa. I've only ever promised one thing on this channel, and that's honesty. I'm not sugarcoating anything because I'm not in the sugarcoating business. I call out when it needs to be called out. I praise when it needs to be praised. And I don't suffer fools gladly. And this manager can't stop this. He's had so many reset options now from international breaks, which are genuine chances for him to figure something out. There's a natural break for 3 months in a row. We came back after the October international break and lost at home to Manchester United. We come back after the November international break and lose 3-0 at home to Nottingham Forest. He doesn't have the ability in him. And the longer we just keep going on with it, the worse it's going to get. Because the players don't give a shit. That hurts to say, but am I wrong? They'll all come on social media and they'll give it the big one. They'll post, they'll talk about standards, they'll do all the bullshit PR nonsense that means absolutely zippity fucking do that. Because they then go out there on the pitch and get bullied. So I want less of this and more of this. Because we're not seeing it. And he's unable. The manager's unable to get it out of them. And I'm sorry, but I am going to say it's his demeanour. When you look to the sideline and you've got a manager just kind of composed and calm and you're going into a dressing room at half time, not shitting yourself at what's going to come your way in that dressing room, and you go out second half and it looks like nobody's gotten into you and you've nothing to prove, and then you go out there and stink the gaff up, you're not getting held to account. He doesn't have the balls for this job. He doesn't. He can't take on Mo, he can't take on Virgil, and he can't wrestle back to control of that dressing room. That's the biggest factor for me in this. The players don't look scared. Lil Pig said, I would rather take Brendan Rodgers back than this fraud. Mr. Acentino said, I think it's Gerrard till the end of the World Cup. And Nagelsmann comes in from Germany after. That gives Klopp a chance at the German job. Javid said, we're Liverpool, this is not acceptable. No, mate, it very much isn't. We sacked a manager that has a stand named after him for less. Unfortunately, it's time for Slot to go. Keep up your honest opinion, Craig. Thank you so much for that. We're all upset and it can't go on. Last week, we said Slot earned his time winning the league, but losing 3-0 to Nottingham Forest at home isn't bad, it's unacceptable. Raxlow said, I think the quality of players is still there, but the problem is how to use them. Exactly. Like, we brought in players, and let's be honest, some of the players you think, are they going to fit into the system? But you assume that the manager's going to have something up his sleeve, some idea. But here we are now, 15 games into a season? In all competitions, roughly? And we're no closer to seeing an evolution. We're no closer to understanding what he's trying to do. And he's seemingly unwilling to go back to a style that works. Look, it's very simple for Arne. You go to the pressing game and you go back to the way we used to play. And if the players on the pitch aren't buying into that, then they get thrown onto the bench till you find somebody with the heart to come on and do it. And you start by benching Salah and playing Chiesa. You start by benching Canade and playing Gomez. You start by holding senior players to fucking account. Because they're not scared of you. And I don't want to hear the Salah FC fans say, oh, it's always Salah's fault. He's the highest earner. He's the talisman. And he's stinking the gaff up again. And he's not alone. No, he isn't alone. But he's also the highest paid player in the history of the fucking football club. This one. No, I've done that one. This one from Carl. I'm slot in, but just it's difficult to believe. I'm done, Carl, mate. I respect your opinion and I respect anybody else. And for what it's worth, I think Salah had a good first half. I said it during the first half. He looked bright. Second half, though, when our backs are against the wall, and the biggest moment for me that summed up where Salah's at in that second half was he was shouldered off the ball. I think it was by Murillo. And he just flew himself to the ground looking for a free kick, a penalty, or something from the ref when he was just outmanned. That's the truth of it. He was just outmuscled, outfought, and outmanned. For how long are we going to act? Gakpo, it's not useless. I don't know what you mean by that. What's their third goal? I think it's the third goal. Maybe it's the second one. They pull it back from the byline to the penalty spot. When we get across the goal, what happens? Salah tries outside of the foot across the front of the goalkeeper every single time. Outside of the left foot cross in front of the goalkeeper. No getting to the byline and pulling it back to the penalty spot. No third man runs from the edge of the box. Nothing. And Canade should just go and join the WWE because he clearly has more fun fucking grappling with people than he does actually trying to fight for the ball. Suleiman said we have to cut our losses. Arna out. No signs of improvement. I've seen enough, said Matty Gorman. Y'all sound like Arsenal trying to sack Arteta. I don't understand in any way how that's relevant. Look, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And if anybody says they believe in Slot here, I haven't jumped down anyone's throat for saying that. Because I respect your opinions. But for me, I can only give you my view and read out what you guys say. And I don't know at this point how we can rescue this. I want to read through some post-match stuff and then we'll get back into the chat. Van Dijk, we're in a very difficult moment. We have to get out of it. We don't get out of it by speaking about it. I'm here speaking to you guys because I have to. Also, we conceded too many easy goals. First half an hour, we were good. They scored from a set piece. Again, you can ask if it was in front of Alisson, but it counted. We were not good in the battles, second balls. He neglects to say that his centre-back partner gave away that corner completely needlessly. Completely needlessly because he's not switched on. He had acres of space to put that out for a throw-in, but he didn't. He trips over himself and boots it out for a corner, and then we can't defend the corner. Murillo has 3 Liverpool players standing around him. Nobody gets a block in. Excuses are just excuses. Talk is cheap. It's done. Stop talking. Just apologise and move on. Because that's all he should be doing, is apologising. I'm sorry to the fans. I'm sorry to everyone around the world. I'm sorry that what you see now here today is so fucking far from acceptable that I'm embarrassed right now. I'm embarrassed to be standing here. I'm embarrassed that this has happened and it will change. Not hard, but no, laid back, calm, fucking some mythical bullshit, waffly, spoofy nonsense. Just not good enough. Arne Slot, we have quality players. It's my job to get the best out of them. I'm not at the moment. That's why I say it's my responsibility. Then quit. Then do the decent thing and hand in your resignation and leave. Because you know the players are good and you can't get the best out of them. You've said it yourself. You aren't doing it. You aren't getting the best out of these very good footballers. So what's the problem? It's most likely you at this point, Arne. So do the decent thing, grow a pair and say, thanks, I've gone as far as I can. This team needs somebody else to move them on. Because stubbornness and believing in your own ability when there's clearly nothing showing that you can turn this around is just foolishness for everybody. Alexander Isak is the first player to lose each of his first top 4 games. Alexander Isak is the first player to lose each of his first 4 top flight league games for Liverpool since Percy Sol in 1906. 1906. That's where we're going back to now for records this bad. 1906. Here's our last 7 Premier League results, by the way. Just so we can give some more facts to this. The last 7 results for Liverpool in the Premier League. Crystal Palace beat us 2-1. Chelsea beat us 2-1. Man United beat us 2-1. Brentford beat us 3-2. We beat Villa 2-0. We lost 3-0 to Manchester City. And we lost 3-0 to Forest. We've lost 6 games out of 7 in the league. 6 fucking games out of 7 and conceded 2, 4, 6, 9, 15 goals. 15 goals conceded in the last 7 games, and we've lost 6 of them. They're the facts, folks. They're the facts. They're not debatable. 6 losses from 7. Yes, 6-7 indeed. 6 fucking 7 indeed. Arna said, if things go well or things go bad, it's my responsibility. We weren't able to create enough. I tried to adjust a few things that didn't really work out. We weren't able to score a goal. That's genius, Arna. That's fucking genius, mate. Can we all pause and have a moment of appreciation for Mr. Stating the bleeding Jesus obvious here? We weren't able to score a goal. That's fucking astounding. That's Aristotle level shit, that is, from Arna. I tried to adjust a few things, but we weren't able to score a goal. Brilliant. That you can see the genius in work there. That's absolute genius, that. Arna Slot on 6 losses from 7. We're in a very bad spell. It's that simple. We also know in a few days we play Champions League. He really is just Captain Bleeding Obvious here, isn't he? We all know in a few days we play Champions League. Next is, I think I'm going to get some sleep tonight. In the morning, I'm going to have some breakfast. We all know I'm going to have some breakfast. What we all know, Arna, is that this isn't good enough. And that all these sound bites are just bollocks. Just say you're not good enough for the job at this point. Hand in your resignation and do the decent thing. Let's get back into the chat. Elephant in the room. 1 goal in 3 games, 6 against. Joe Sanchez, thank you. Surely Arne Slot is in big trouble. Said Suil 1. I'd say so, mate. I'd say so. Craig, sadly you're right. Slot has to go, said Matt Denny. Matthew Johnny said, I love Slot and I've no doubt he'll be a great job at some other club. He's a good coach. I've nothing against him, but there's zero reason to believe he'll turn this around. Hurts to say. And I'm like you, Matthew. I don't want to say it and I take no pleasure in saying it, but I can't just keep hoping and hoping and hoping. Because like I said at the very start of this match reaction, that's all we're doing now as fans is hoping. We're not seeing signs of it. You know, we're not seeing a methodology that's playing out, that we're getting there bit by bit. We're so far off it. So far off it. Since he took over, he's ostracised Elliott and many young players. Jurgen Klopp left him a happy squad. He ruined the harmony, said HFMCE. Quiz King said fans would die for a chance to represent Liverpool. Yes, of course. I think the clearest thing that I can say is there are players there that we know have it in them. Your Virgils, your Salahs, Soboslais, Macas, Robos, Allisons. We know they have fight in them. We've seen it. We've seen them stand up. We've seen them stem the flow. We've seen them fight back. So we know the players are capable of it. And the new guys that came in didn't get to where they are in football by not having something about them. So I can only assume at this point they're just not feeling it from the manager. Whether that's motivationally, whether that's tactically, I don't know. But it doesn't look like they're believing right now. Now, nobody's going to come out in the public and say they've lost faith in the manager. No player would ever do that. But this is where we as fans have our say. And we do, and we say the hard things for them. Because the manager can't control that dressing room. He can't get his opinions across in a way that's getting a reaction. For whatever reason, he can't get it across. Was there booze the final whistle? I don't know, Sarah, because I always have the audio off, mate, when I'm doing a game. Why did we give up after 1 goal? Where's the fight? The real telling thing, Squeak, for me there today was half-time. Half-time's your chance to get them back in, to get into them, and tell them a few home truths. All of us are asking, is he going to take off Canade because he's stinking the gaff up? And he doesn't. We concede within a minute, and then he pulls off Canade 8 minutes later. When the damage is done. As somebody said, I think it was Nessie, he's reactive, not proactive. And his reactiveness is costing us again. And I hate what he's doing to Rio, and I hate what he's doing to Chiesa. He's just destroying their confidence. Under Klopp, we were feared by all. Teams came to Anfield expecting a loss. Teams come here confident and ready for a fight. Slot has killed all of Klopp's hard work. As a Liverpool fan, I enjoyed watching Anderson. Yes, you can, like, Anderson's a very good example. How many shots did he block on his own in their 18-yard box today? Heading them off the line, putting his body in the way. Him and Murillo, and contrast those performances and their determination to ours. Night and day, mate. Night and day. Our title hope's 100% gone. For me, the title hope went out the window when we lost to City, like I said. City have the right to think they're in a title race. We have... Am I right in saying that we have a minus goal difference? Or are we at 0? We must be either at 0 or minus at this point. But either way, that's where we're at. I don't ever remember this at this point. Having a goal difference that's... Let's have a look at the league table. One sec. -2. -2. We've a -2 goal difference. Defending fucking champions. £500 million spent on talent. And we have a -2 goal difference. Are languishing 11th in the Premier League. 11th with a -2 goal difference. As defending champions. Said, outside noise was probably your alarm to wake up, Verge. Out of words, disgraceful, needs to go, painful. Loudman12 said, either Slot has instructions to play these players from above or he's an idiot with no backbone to make said decisions. Canade dropped, get one of the U team in at this rate. We learn, we grow, we come back stronger, said Oswald. Appreciate your upbeatness, mate, and your positivity, but, you know, I wish I could get behind it. The first part of what you're saying there, if I can bring it back up, I think is what we're not doing. Respectfully, I don't think we are learning. Because it's not getting better. Thank you, my friend. Never seen a manager self-destruct like this, Craig. 400 million today, 6 players during the 90 minutes played out of position. Not seen this since Hodgson. Philip, did I miss your super chat, mate? My apologies, I'll find it back now. Or have I not got to it yet? One sec. I haven't got to it yet, mate. I haven't missed it. I'm working through the super chats. As you can see, there's a lot of people with a lot of emotion. So I'm working through them as quickly as I can. Jose Sanchez said, if I'm Arna, I'm fighting everyone in the locker room and I'm resigning afterwards. Is scrambled egg Slot done to you, my friend? At this point, mate, yes. I'm saying I think he needs to either resign or be fired today. I think it'll be madness for FSG to invest in Slot for the January window now, said Will. Thank you, Will. Upcycle TV said, get Gerrard and give him a chance at the end of the season. I wouldn't give him that long, but I would agree on getting Steven Gerrard in. But I would say it has to be very clear that this doesn't lead to you getting the job. You know, this isn't going to be an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer type scenario. Come in, hold the fort by all means, get some fight back in those players, and then find the right manager. There's a comment there that makes me smile. Thank you, Rexlau, who just said beer make me better. Thank you, dude, for making me smile. Martin said, I've been a Liverpool fan for 40 years and I've seen Liverpool teams much worse than this one. Player for player, fight for the result. It's sad, really. Gary Mackay said, it's passionate people like you that make football that beautiful game. If people who slander you for that, let them hate your passion. Thank you, Gary. Same as you and others, mate. It's because I care. It's because I'm not always going to say the right thing. I'm not always going to be maybe as respectful as I should be. But I care, mate. I care as yourself. And we're not seeing the same coming back here, are we, from the players and the manager? We're just not. Right, we have 11,000 votes so far. Keep going. If you haven't voted, we're asking, should Slot be fired? That's the question this evening. Jordan said, at this point, I bring Rodgers back for a laugh. Why not? Oh, God, no, mate. I couldn't take that. Adam Christmas said, WTF did I just waste my afternoon watching? So bad. Andy said, Milner for interim manager. He'd scare him straight. He's still playing for Brighton, though. We have standards. Get out. Nothing else to say. Slot hasn't got enough credit in the bank, said Henry. Spooderman said, I have to watch these idiots at West Ham next week. For fuck's sake, God help me. Zachary, it's an excuse, mate, you know, because as somebody pointed out, I think it was Stevie Wood the other day, when you win the first 5 games, the narrative is let's do it in memory of, let's do it too. And then you go on a losing streak and people start asking that question. So it is certainly a factor. Of course it is. But it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse for just not fighting. You know? And like I've said many times, and I mean this sincerely, there's bound to be some players that are struggling there emotionally, of course. And those players should be given all the support and time away that they need. I've no problem with that. But you can send players out there that aren't prepared to fight. And if there are people who just can't get to that point, as a human being, I've every sympathy. Just take them out of the firing line and give them the rest and time. But it's one or the other. You can't say it's getting to them and then not do anything about it. You know, so I don't know the answer, in all honesty, mate. But I do accept, of course, it's going to be a factor in the situation, of course. Gakpo playing out there with an oversized clown shoe. Long train home back to London after that shambles. Again, I'm sorry you had to sit through it. There were so many people in the chat this week who had their first game bringing their young lad or their first game bringing their kids, excited, hoping that we see a reaction to the loss against Manchester City. And then you go and get beaten 3-0 at home. Again, you know, 15 shots for them, 7 on target. 21 shots for us, 4 on target. 1 shot on target in the second half, and that was a long distance strike from Szoboszlai. Portadown Blue said goal difference is now -2. I know, it's absolutely unacceptable. -2 with that amount of talent. Talking about standards, what says about a manager who will throw young players and others who aren't integrated under the bus instead of growing a pair and benching star players who are off the mark? No standards. I've said this, Kells, for ages. Absolutely agree. Talk is cheap, and they talk about standards. But when those standards aren't being met, like you've said, what is he doing to change it? What is he doing to hold people accountable? Nothing. And then on top of that, he's destroying the likes of Rio and Chiesa by throwing them in for garbage minutes when the game's gone. You know, it's just nonsense. We have 6 forwards. No, we don't. We've 4. Because you won't start Rio, you won't start Chiesa. And then you've got an injured Isak who's not fit yet. So you've 3 and Salah's not playing well. So do you think that Mo has a clause in his contract that he stays? He says if he's fit, he plays. I have to believe, Paul. I have to believe that doesn't exist. Because if we, and again, that point you're saying someone's bigger than the club. So I have to believe, mate, that isn't in any contract. Because I just don't believe any club of our size would be that tin pot. That weak mentality-wise to say we'd put that into a deal, mate. We'll probably never know, dude, but I'd be astounded. Philipkinson said, not a single player knows what it means and to wear the shirt other than Dom. Gerrard would sort that out. Trent's absence is massive tactically. I definitely agree with you on the Trent part. And especially, again, that's one of the factors for me that leads us to where Mo is this season. Some of it is Diogo. Some of it is Mo's form. Some of it is Trent not being there. Some of it is new players in and around him. But all of that doesn't take into account the lack of effort and fight we're seeing. That's the part that's getting to most of us tonight. Most of the angry comments that we're dealing with are people, who just don't see fight. And, if you go out on your sword, so be it. But to go out like this, with a whimper, 6 conceded, none scored in the last 2 league games, 6 losses from 7 in the Premier League after the money we spent. Floyd Franklin, thank you for your membership. Can we save the season? The season can be saved, yes. You can still try to do something in the Champions League. There's still an FA Cup. But I guess, how do you save the season is the question. Do you save the season by pulling the trigger on the manager? Or do you save the season by continuing to back a manager that, as of yet, hasn't showed an ability to turn this around? Whenever it starts to go against us, the heads get dropped again. He won the Premier League with Klopp's team, spent 400 mil. Well, he did, and yes. This is concerning. If Slot losing the dressing room, sell Canate and Virgil and get Gay in January, and another one to replace Virgil. Massive statement, yes. Maybe stupid, but it should be Slot's way or the highway. But here's the thing, Nick, right? Whilst I don't disagree with the sentiment at all, bro, I don't. He has the chance to do that now. Especially with somebody like Canade. You've got Salah not playing well on the right, and you've got a fix in Chiesa, but you're refusing to try that fix. In defence, you're right. Both of them are equally, well, Virgil isn't as bad as Canade, but neither of them are hitting the standards that are acceptable. And again, Joe Gomez is sitting there. I don't know what he was doing today on the side of the pitch, but, he wasn't getting pulled on to start the game. He's not holding anyone to account. So I agree with you, Nick, but he has the chance to do that, and he hasn't. That's where I get the problem, and that's where I think the job or the dressing room is too big for him. Javi Hernandez, a decent show. I wouldn't know. I didn't see any of his managerial career over in Japan or wherever he was, so honestly, I wouldn't know. Ashley Dooley said, who will last longer at the club, Chiesa or Slot? I still don't think Slot's going to be sacked, by the way. I said this during the watch-along. I think he should be sacked. Many people feel he should be sacked, but I don't think he will be. I really, really think that the manager is going to be safe for the season. I don't think it's right, but I think that's the way it's going to be. Craig, love the show. Don't change. I hate to say it. Slot has to go. He can't turn this around. Like Slot, but it's over. Problem. Gerrard is hapless. Gerrard isn't good enough longer term. I absolutely agree on that. But he's a steady hand for the minute to at least G up the dressing room and get a bit of fight into them. And at least he's going to have the respect of the people in that dressing room. Because we can say they have the respect of Arne, but their body language and the performances are shown otherwise. And thank you for the kind words, Jason. VI Joker said, get Klopp on the board, beg him to come back as well. Gav Newton said, hi Craig, do you think it's time we drop the Jota 20-minute applause? It's clearly affecting the team. So, we've discussed this a few times, mate, and it's something I think only the players can answer. If the players feel it is something, I'm sure that can be communicated to the fans in a respectful way, that Jota's song is sung before the game or after the game or a half-time or something else. But it is going to have to be the players that communicate that, to be fair. I supported this club through the good times and the bad times, but I will say is one thing that Liverpool will not accept is mediocrity, and if Slot can't get this team to work, he has to go. I think that's a very fair and balanced statement, and I think most of us feel similar to your good self. Tippy-tappy crap has to stop. Slot has to go, said Robert. Right, I'm going to start. Please don't send in any more super chats, by the way. I want to start to wind this down. I will be back tonight at 8:45 for the late night agenda. So I will see you guys back here tonight and we can go back to this in more detail. Just please don't send in any more super chats because I don't want you to waste your money and I don't want to miss them. My lad went to his first game today. I'm gutted, said Cat Dad for him. 45 years watching Liverpool. I don't know what I watched today. Slot must go now. Thanks, Craig. I was mentioning your good self, mate, and my heart goes out to you. You know, as dads and mums, you know, we dream about bringing our boys and girls to watch the Reds. I had the pleasure of bringing my daughter when she was about 9 to see us play Sunderland. Haven't yet had the pleasure of bringing my son across. But you're right. You want them to feel the same things we felt, to catch the same bug, to feel the same emotion, to be wowed, to see these lads as superheroes out there on the pitch. So I feel for you, dude. I feel for you. Time for Hughes and Edwards to do their job and sack Slot, said Stevie Boy. No new manager can quickly right the ship with this squad. Weak, gutless, and lacking urgency. I'm afraid it might take years and money. I don't think so, mate. Obviously, I can understand where you're coming from, but I don't think this is a bad team. I don't think the players are bad. I just don't think, and it doesn't look like, whatever the plan was and whatever the thought process was to link these guys together, you know, it hasn't worked yet. We yet don't know whether this is solely a player thing, whether it's a tactical thing, whether it's a manager thing, whether it's a settling thing. But what we do know is consistently the manager isn't getting a tune out of them and not even getting fight out of them. Tierney said, see you at the World Cup, up the Scots. Congratulations sincerely on that. Delighted for the Scots that he's got there. Truly am. And hope we can join you. FC Pitchside said, think what he promised to the likes of Wirtz in the summer. Yep. What is your summary of Slot's about to be sacked? I don't mean what is your summary of it. My view is that he should be fired today or resign. I can't defend it anymore. I don't see a logical reason to defend what we're seeing. For all the game-related content, you keep it real, honest and blunt. On top of that, act as our emotional support streamer. Thank you. That takes courage. Props, my man. You're a legend. I needed that, man. I needed that. Thank you. I hate coming on for these streams, not because I don't want to chat with everybody, because you know that people are going to be as angry as you are. And you know that people are going to be as sad as you are and as frustrated as you are, and they care as much as you do. And every single one of us wants the best for the team and the club. Every one of us. Whether we agree or disagree, we all have that in common. And when days like today happen, I feel like it's my responsibility to give you the time to vent as much as I can. And I appreciate your kindness, because I promise you, it means a lot. On moments like this, there's not much to get happy about. But thank you. Phil, Sully, thank you, mate. The evil Mr. Fry said spends 300 million net, yet worse than Hodgson's era. By, again, hard to argue. Seriously, no disrespect, Craig. Do you genuinely believe FSG will fire Slot after this? No hidden agenda, but a genuine question. No, I don't. I don't think they will, Peter. And it's a fair question, but I don't think they will. I think they'll give him the season. I guess the real question for me is, do people think he should be fired? So, of course, we'll all have our view. But your question, my honest answer is no, I don't think he gets fired. Right. We've over 13,000 votes. Keep voting away. I'm going to get through these super chats, then do the player ratings. If, by the way, you'd like to submit your player ratings, make sure that you join the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp. Scan the QR code on the screen here now, and that will bring you to the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp, where you can submit your player ratings via the form is in the chat. What annoys me, Sevilla Jokers, is the players will probably turn it up for the Champions League game against PSV, then try and smokescreen everyone. Yep, but the truth is, mate, no matter what happens, and look, it's PSV Eindhoven, we should be beating them handily. Whatever happens, 6 losses from 7 and 15 goals conceded is unacceptable. Umar said, how are we, Umar? Said, terrible defending. Canade and Van Dijk never put their bodies on the line when defending. All those stupid side-to-side passes are driving me mad. Weather FC is also -2. Well, we are -2, yeah. I can't argue about that. Look, I always take banter with good grace when it's deserved. And any banter towards this Liverpool team is deserved. So crack on. What changed from the Villa and Real matches? They seem to have turned a corner and we're playing for this club on the badge, then this. It's a really good question, Jer. It's a really good question, fella. And I've asked myself the same thing. And I even tried to, in my head, Jer, give the benefit of the doubt for the Man City game. Because it was Pep's 1000 game. It was Manchester City at home. It was, Haaland feeling confident. And it's no disgrace to lose at the Etihad. Now, the way we lost was a disgrace. But you even then tried to say, right, 2 good games, 1 bad. Might be a blip. You look ahead to the fixtures. You say, right, up to say Liverpool have the easiest run of games now in the Premier League of the next 7 games. And you think, right, international break's over. Man City's been and gone. Put it right today. We owe Forest one from last year. Put it right today. And we didn't. We didn't, Jaron. And that's why we're all so feckin' frustrated, mate. Any manager in the world is going to love that squad. They'll be queuing up in droves. Of course, mate. Like I said earlier on, these aren't bad players. Some of them aren't performing, fair enough, but you'd be licking your lips to walk in and see those players, wouldn't you, as a coach? Thomas Worrell said, hey Craig, feel for your brother and all the Liverpool fans. You look in trouble, mate. The players didn't care today. No fight for the fans, just my opinion. You're not wrong, Thomas. And look, as I said during the watch-along, dude, I've got messages from other content creators from loads of different clubs on my WhatsApp now, and all of them saying the same thing. And these aren't saying it to banter me. Like, I know these people. I chat with them all the time. And when they're messaging me saying Slot has to go, hand on heart, that's their view. It's not a banter. Like, Lee Gunner's not messaging me saying Slot needs to go because he wants to wind me up. He's just being honest, and he's fucking right. He's right. I love the content, Craig. Is top 4 even attainable? I mean, we're in 11th at the minute, Hurries. Top 4. I mean, what's the points differential here? Let's have a quick look. We're still only 2 points off it. But there are clubs still that have games to play that can move us further down away from that. It's salvageable if they act. But if they don't act, and we're still talking about this in a month's time, then we're in trouble. RDR 79, thank you, mate. You said Slot emptying the attacking bench, FIFA tactics. Yeah, it's Ten Hag stuff that I bantered him for. Not having a clue what to do, lashing on. We didn't do that today, but lashing your centre back up front. No clue, mate. I agree. And James Quinn, thank you, James. Right, let's end this poll. 13,600 votes. Should Arne Slot be fired? 76%. 13,500 votes and 76% think the manager should be fired. I'll be back tonight, actually 8:30 for the late night agenda. And we'll go through all of this in more detail, and we'll see if by that time there's any movement from the club. Because right now, my feeling is he should be fired or he should resign. And I take no pleasure in saying that, but I'm being honest. So I'll see you guys. Player ratings video coming out in the next 20 minutes or so. We'll see you at 8:30 tonight. If I didn't get to your comments today in the post-match because it was so busy, hopefully we can have the chat again tonight. I'll be here to share your views and give you a chance to air your frustration. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for your kindness, and we'll see you soon.